Alright, I'm just gonna get this out of the way now.
Alright.
I've been playing fucking old Zelda games for like 3 days now and haven't written anything.
No, well, that's at least you have an excuse. I haven't done anything or written anything. I mean, if we're gonna make excuses like we always make excuses, I think I'm gonna chop this round up to like not the holiday blues, but just the holiday, like, you know,
the winter blues,
the having to wrap things, and, you know, just doing all that. Work's always extremely busy around this time. Doesn't matter what your job is. It just always seems like it's worse during, you know, the holiday times. And
I see.
Well, like I said, that's my excuse.
Yeah, I mean, other than the game though, which is really not an excuse to not do stuff. I did do a bit of reading. I finished reading that Coin Locker Babies. Oh, okay. We'll cover that. We're recording a recap episode after this. Will drop a week later, so whatever. When you're listening to that episode, we'll go more into it. But I will just say, Spencer, just to give you a brief heads up, madness. That's all that needs to be said on this episode. No, because Ash, he made me feel like dog shit today. Because he was like, so how's the novel coming? And I was like...
Did you just turn into Randy from South Park? Hey, fuck you!
Hey, fuck you, guy! No, what I said in response to that... Oh, I hate that. Hold on. I fucking half texted him a reply for something that he said at 12 o'clock, and I never hit send.
I hate that. I feel like such an asshole when I do that.
Fucking A.
Hopefully it wasn't like asking for like a, you know, like a kidney or anything.
No, not quite. Alright, so I said, I've been plotting out the fantasy aspects and narrative style. It'll be at least a few weeks before I start writing it. I felt that was, and I have been thinking about, like...
Honestly, is that why you've been playing Zelda? Is to try to get into the more fantasy zone?
Not really. That actually has more to do with today's episode. We'll get on that later. But it wasn't a fib. I wouldn't say the word plotting is necessarily accurate. More like just kind of half thinking from, like, when I'm sitting there in the dark alone crying, and then I get that moment of, wait a minute, are things this bad? And then I go, oh yeah, you know what would be cool for this story? And I've been thinking about the narrative structures of, like, not just how do I want to tell it, but I'm thinking every other chapter I would like to have maybe one protagonist, because it's going to be a 2-protagonist story. So one protagonist would be this chapter, then the next and it would alternate. So every other chapter would be from, because they're going to be at vastly, one's going to be in another dimension or something, the afterlife. So I'll figure it out. But I think that'd be I like that narrative structure, like every other chapter.
Or at least every couple, or something, like back and forth. Yeah, I think maybe if you...
It doesn't have to be like, you know, it's not going to be that strict.
Yeah, I think if you would stick with every other, no matter what, I think you could get a little bit repetitious. But yeah, I definitely think that would be, you know, cool jumping between the two.
Yeah, and but what I like about that idea is, you know, you could leave a little mini cliffhanger, and then you go to the next person's thing, and then that's actually what the Coin Locker Babies ended up doing. It was like a little after the second half of the book, it started alternating the different characters, and it was just really wild.
Well, that's a lot of like, I don't know if you noticed that whenever we read The Black by Paulie Cooley, but that's, he always talked about whenever he always liked to end his chapters on a cliffhanger and then go to something completely different to leave the people go like, what the fuck, man?
Makes you keep reading. But if you do the alternating thing, because then we'll at least they're getting back to a different cliffhanger that you left them on. So, and you could wrap things up. And what I would like to do is start off with the merged cohesiveness of a story, split the characters up. So do a collective narrative, split them up, and then each individual story, and then you could break them up however you want. And it's a novel, so I'm gonna have more than just 2 characters, obviously. Which is another thing me and Ash were kind of talking about. I was like, I haven't written anything with more than like 4 or 5 characters.
Yeah, that's a thing too. Yeah, that's
gonna be a bit of a learning curve. And I'm gonna remind me if I forget. I want to talk about that master's class I sent you. Ooh, because that looked really interesting.
On air or?
Yeah, we'll talk about it on air. We'll end the episode with that.
Okay.
Because it just looked. What was that? Salman Rushdie.
Yeah.
And I was like, I never read any of his work, but it actually looked really interesting when he was talking about. I was like, oh, now see, that's one, because I heard the Neil Gaiman one. If you just watch his interviews on YouTube, you get the gist of it. But anyway, we're getting off topic. But I like the idea of starting off the narrative, breaking it up, and having individual narratives, and then obviously bringing them back together, which the Coin Locker Babies did not do at the end.
No.
Did not bring the story back together, just fucking blew it up. which is awesome still. Oh, it ended up... I'm gushing. Yeah, I would like to do something like that, but we'll save that for, I don't know, maybe a novel plotting episode or something in the future. But today we're going to be talking about... Dun, dun, dun. Find out after the intro, or just read the title of the fucking podcast.
Yeah, you should probably know by now.
Well, maybe I'll make a mysterious title. Like, what are we talking about? Also looked up, because I got a thing on Podbean. Sent me a thing about starting a second podcast. Must have recorded us talking. And I was like, ooh, that would be interesting if it's cheap or something. Yeah. And it just gave us the shitty options we had before. So I was like, I don't know if that's possible. But that made me think of ideas. And 2 Guys, 1 Podcast is already a name of a podcast. I looked it up. Because I was like, that seems like a great podcast title for us two. Yeah, like if we were doing a straight bullshit podcast. But I don't know the quality of that podcast.
Ooh. 2 Guys, 1 Mic.
Not sharing a mic.
No, but...
No, I don't like that. It's stupid.
Well, obviously not sharing a mic, but...
Some people share a mic.
Yeah.
You are on a podcast that shares like 1 mic with 5 guys.
Oh, yeah, it's just one of those things you sit in the middle of the table.
Quality.
Well, you know.
The Pittsburgh podcast. Pittsburgh Comic Podcast. Listen to it, folks, if you like comic talk. Anyway, find out what this episode is after these messages from our sponsors. Do you like juggalos? Fuck, I don't know. I lost it immediately. Do you like sir?
No, Caleb, no, you've been so good.
Goose Frog. Welcome to the Drunken Pen Writing Podcast. Wow, bitches. I don't know why I threw that bitches in there.
Yeah, that's aggressive.
It's hard to know. I don't know. Anyway, I'm your host, Caleb James. With me today, Spencer, the Yemen Yucky Yam Church. Hey, you're Yucky Yam. I feel like I'm getting pretty good at the point. I like the point because it takes the hardest part for me is coming up with the name of a country or city. Yeah. So when I point on the map, that takes that out of the equation, and I just have to come up with the rest, which I can do very quickly because I'm stupid. I got the gift of gab, and the gift of jab. No, that's Enzo Amore.
Oh, I just thought you had the diarrhea mouth. Where things just fell.
That explains why a lot of the stuff I spew is just hot shit. I had a conversation with my coworker today about probably a bad idea, but we were talking about taking steroids and getting really, really buff and reforming the Harlem Heat, and I would be Booker T and he would be Stevie Ray. Now, obviously, we're very Caucasian, so I don't think that would go over well.
I don't think that would work.
And I'm definitely not going to call out Hulk Hogan, but I really would like to be the Harlem Heat. I feel like it'd be cool.
Can you just be like the something else Heat? Like,
I don't know. Fucking, what would be a good name then? It can't be Harlem because I'm not from Harlem.
Yeah. Well, were they from?
No, I think they're from. At least Booker T, I think, is from Houston, Texas, or something. But it's just because they're black. They had to be Harlem Heat, like because that's how racist the '90s were. Of course, they might have came up with that gimmick. I don't know. But yeah, we would have to be like the fucking Wichita. I don't want to say it. I don't want to say anything. What's today's episode? Oh, yes. As I stated earlier in the intro, I've been playing an old Zelda game. Actually, to be more specific, Legend of Zelda, what the fuck is that called? The Minish Cap or something?
No, which one is that?
It's the Game Boy Advance version.
But I mean, like, which Zelda game is that? Is that the 1st, 2nd, 18th, 19th?
4th, 5th, 6th, one of those ones. Because I beat the original trilogy, and I played a bunch of the other ones when I was older. But I was just going back, and it was fun. But it made me... Zelda has nothing really to do with this other than 2 things, which I texted you briefly about. I wanted to have an open discussion, not necessarily just about narratives and stuff, or why, like, adventure stories and stuff, but more specifically, an open discussion on why, as humans, we like heroes, and why we like adventure stories. Because if you think about normal human life, your main goal is just kind of be secure and safe. Yeah. Which is the opposite of fucking going on a quest. Yeah. Questing. You don't quest. Because if you go questing.
Or adventuring.
No, questing. Spencer. No. I'm trying to get you to snap, man. I want to know the limit of how many times you say quest before you're like, shut the fuck up.
No, I don't have a problem with a good quest. Or if you actually know what you're doing during a quest, fucking questing.
You sound like the other stuff.
Not roaming randomly around on a fucking horse, being a knight, not doing anything. King Arthur!
You fuck.
But any other normal, like, you know, questing with purpose, I don't have a problem with. It's just
fake questing.
Yeah, that lazy questing.
Pretty much you're just a bum who lives in the woods and saying you're questing. Well, let's break down the hero aspect first. Why do humans like a good hero? Because this writing podcast will stick more to story and fiction. I think a lot of it is the sacrifice nature.
Yep.
And mainly because technically anybody can probably be a hero. Obviously opportunity and the, you know, whatever moment you're in, like, you know, little kid walks in front of a bus, you can save them if you're just there.
Yeah.
That can make you an accidental hero. But to be a purposeful hero, there's a burning building. I'm not a fireman, but I'm going to run in that building anyway. That takes on a different nature. And the reason why we look up to that is because we know we can do it, but we don't.
Or, you know, or you get frozen in that fear. Yeah. Or it's, especially like with the comics, it's very and you know, I've heard this explained a lot in, you know, in different documentaries that I've watched and stuff, but it's the superheroes are like the best of human nature. And so like the other side of the coin is like the villains for the most part are the worst. So with the heroes, it's that it gives you that thing to look up to, and it's one of the reasons why I always try to get my friends' kids reading comic books when they're younger, because then even like if they get older and they get kind of out of it, they still kind of have those things kind of mentally drilled into them to a certain point already, even if they don't realize it. But just seeing Superman like stand up to the bullies, you know, that
just do the right thing,
you know, and stuff like that is like, I think that could have like, you know, can have a positive effect on people.
Yeah, I definitely think that's important because you have to instill some kind of morals and values in your kids, and the easiest way to do that would be superheroes. And like the knock on superheroes is whenever you're gonna, like, when are you gonna fight a Thanos in real life? You know, somebody's gonna end half the well, obviously, the more powers you give to your hero, the bigger the threat, or else but it doesn't have to be like that. It could be things we all face.
Yeah, but they were looking at this though. Just say, in our everyday normal lives, like, you know, depending on, like, you got a fucking asshole boss, you know, he might not have an infinity gauntlet, but he basically controls your life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's things that can be more relatable that if you know that you may think to not realize.
Well, that's why I always thought Spider-Man was so cool, was because even though he did get powers, you know, he was just kind of like a bullied nerd. And he didn't start off as...
Yeah, I mean, he fucked up.
Most heroes don't start off, you know, as the hero, obviously, because, you know, the hero's journey, which we covered on an episode. But yeah, he fucked up and stuff. His uncle got killed.
Yeah.
And then that's when he started taking things seriously. His story's pretty cool because, you know, he's an adolescent, you know, teenager, and then he is learning how to be a hero, which is always a cool story. And people can kind of relate to that because, again, we're all at some point kind of at that stage where we're Peter Parker before he's Spider-Man. It's just, what do you do? And
the best thing about Spider-Man is, with his costume, it could literally be anybody underneath them. I mean, just from a few years ago, whenever Miles Morales came into existence, like, this young mixed Puerto Rican and black kid who also gets bitten by this other radioactive spider, and in his universe, Spider-Man gets killed by the Green Goblin, and he is kind of forced to step in his place and take up that mantle and stuff like that.
Well, the Crib Batman's a symbol.
Yeah.
You know, the suit's a symbol. You know, Batman, he's a symbol, not necessarily just Batman, because he's a normal dude. That's why I think why Batman's so popular is because he's a normal. I mean, he's rich.
Yeah, that's his powers.
Money. He's just rich. But I mean, when you have somebody who's kind of a normal person,
when he's standing next to gods, holding his own, when gods are asking him, "What should we do, Batman?"
He's like, "That's pretty cool."
Yeah.
Of course, he's like a master detective and super smart. One of the coolest lines I've ever seen in any kind of superhero medium actually came from the movie Hancock with Will Smith.
Yeah.
Which is just a goofy comedy movie, but there was one line I really liked in it. It was along I'm going to paraphrase here. Hancock showed up on the scene. I don't remember if he was drunk at the time or it was when he was trying to reform and actually be a hero.
Yeah.
But one of the, I think it was like a police chief or something, reminded him, was like, bullets bounce off of you. They don't bounce off of these guys. Yeah. And it showed like the cops who were still out there doing their thing. And that's what I felt That was more emotional to me than anything that Hancock went through, is because, well, what about those guys? Those are the ones that can die. You know, the more you have to lose, and what can you lose more than your life? Yeah. I guess your family, but like those two things, that can really step up to the hero level.
To piggyback on that, shortly after 9/11 happened, a lot of comic companies and stuff were putting out like these tribute issues and like issues to try to raise money for, family members of, firefighters and policemen and like that kind of stuff. But Marvel put out this one issue of Amazing Spider-Man. It was one of the times they relaunched it. It was like issue like 30 something, but it's an all black cover. It's an all-silent issue, and it's superheroes working with, like, firefighters and policemen to move rubble, even people like Dr. Doom and the Kingpin, like, the villains were helping because of such, like, a terrible thing happened, like,
Well, a lot of times in superhero stories, especially comics, and even certain novels and stuff, is you always kind of forget about the regular person.
I'm saying that's what to take it down to, like we talk about heroes and the policemen and stuff like that. I think that's what also makes whenever a story dealing with those kind of people, or just even like a show, like Rescue Me or any of that kind of stuff, to relate to like those characters because of the danger and the everyday things that they have to put up with.
Yeah. I definitely think it's important, and no matter what kind of story you're telling, is to not only establish the hero and the coward to a degree. You have to have a coward, obviously, if you want to tell. I mean, you don't have to, but it usually helps to have some sort of coward person in the story. But
and even not, a lot of times that's set up too, to have that coward person to have
their hero moment.
Yeah, to have their hero moment too at some point.
I mean, that goes all the way back to the Cowardly Lion. Yeah, even before the Greek mythology and whatnot. But so when you have the hero, I think it's important in your stories to bring out the other, like once I'm into the novel world, depending on what kind of stories I'm telling, I would like to have an average Joe maybe sacrifice themselves. Somebody that might not even necessarily be able to help the situation, but maybe they save one person. Yeah. So you can have, like, in a Marvel movie, like the Spider-Man movie, when he stops the train with that Doc Ock had going crazy. So he stops the train and stuff. I always thought it'd be cool if you had, like, maybe a kid was about to fall out the window or something, and one just passenger, give them their moment, like just a New Yorker. Now they had the moment with New York, like they all grabbed him, which is really cool because then it's New York City saving Spider-Man. Yeah. I really like the symbolism in that, and I think they did that in the. Did they do that in the one, the Tom Holland ones? He's like off a bridge or something, and they helped him.
Well, like he was like on a. I think so, yeah, because they did that one in the first one. They did where the boat was splitting open that he was keeping together, but I don't think anybody really saved him because Iron Man came in and welded it together. But yeah, that are just even like and you can probably notice it if you from reading enough Stephen King stuff, but of just like the average Joe that gets thrown into some crazy situation. Either he gets abducted by aliens or he happens to be caught in some kind of like attack or you know what I mean, gets held up by gunpoint or something, gets his card stolen or something, No,
I mean that goes along with real life. I mean, if you use the train incident with Spider-Man, like none of those people knew that their fucking the train they're on is going to get hijacked. Yeah. And by the way, you know who was the hero on that train? Joey Diaz. Yeah. Remember, he steps up to Doc Ock first?
Oh, yeah.
When he busts through after he's already laying down, he's like, you want to go through him, you got to get through us.
Yeah.
It was fucking fat-ass Joey Diaz, but I like that thing. You don't, just to establish that other people could be heroes even if they don't actually save the day or anything. Like, it's the bravery. Yeah. It's the stepping up in face of the challenge and like you had Captain America going up against Thanos alone before everybody else is brought back. It's like that motherfucker was going to go against Thanos and his whole army
by himself with that broken shield,
knowing he was going to lose, but he was going to fight to the death because that's what a hero does.
Because he doesn't like bullies.
Exactly. I love those moments. Those are the good hero moments in a story. So just piggyback on. By the way, folks, our heater's going to be on at some point.
It's cold.
Yeah,
we just got like 18 inches of snow. We'll deal with it.
So if you hear it whirring in the background, I'm sorry. Just deal with it. So there's only a couple months of this bullshit. 6 months later, why did we have nuclear winter? But just going back to the why people like to read about heroes, it's just because, like you said, it's the best of us because we're all technically capable. It's just who steps up.
Yeah.
And people like to feel like, well, if he could step up, maybe I could too. And then, of course, there's the piece of shit where I like the villain. He's the one that, he's good. But, it goes to the other episode about good villains.
Yeah.
I think we had an episode about that.
Yeah, I think we did. If not, we'll probably have another one soon.
Yeah, at some point.
When we need another idea.
Yeah, we could definitely revisit things once we progress as writers or something. Second part, adventures. Why do people like to read about adventures? Is it just straight escapism?
I think that has a big deal. Part. Yeah, big deal with it.
Going just the Zelda universe, because that's a medieval time. If you go when these stories were starting to come to fruition, Greek times, Roman times, even future stories, before we got to like Shakespearean drama, which I guess Greek mythology and everything had that too, but there was a lot of epics, Odysseys, Quest, the works of Homer, the things like that. Like people are always on these big epic adventures. It's because when you are working, for us, it would just be a shitty 9-to-5 day-to-day life. Back then, they were working fields for 18 hours and just they didn't know outside their shitty little village. Most people didn't get to travel, but you got to hear stories about great adventures. It's escapism, and it makes you kind of have hope that there is something out there for you. Even if it's very unlikely that you're going to go in your backyard, trip and fall down a well and go into some fucking other world.
Yeah. But it might, it also might also give you like that slight motivation to, you know what? I always wanted to take that trip out camping in the woods.
Yeah.
Where it goes that one,
small things, create your own adventures.
Yeah.
That's what I always found was the power in writing is you can create whatever you want. And it can help people through tough times because people might be going through something in their life. Perhaps they want to travel, but they can't. But then now they could read about crazy destinations. Like, that's why a lot of people like to read fiction that's, it could just be normal, maybe a little bit of a dramatic story or something, but it's just set in Tokyo or Russia or just somewhere they've never been and probably will never go, but would like to see.
That was one of the cool things about the Blue Light Yokohama is that it was in Japan.
Yeah.
Neither one of us has ever been to Japan, but it's cool just to, to have a story take place over there.
Yeah, whenever you just read a story that takes place somewhere that you haven't been, it's fun.
Well, okay, so we're always, we've always been kind of talking about recently the different kind of storytelling when it comes to like manga and anime, and I think that has because they also have really cool heroes, and the kind of like a lot of the different kind of stories that they tell, like those are a lot of those are super have fantasy aspect or just like crazy adventures and stuff like that.
Well, we both grew up watching Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
And then we because the original Dragon Ball was like early 80s, before we were born. But we ended up as adults going, revisiting and stuff. So it's just starting back. I don't want to bore anybody who might not be interested in the series, but, Dragon Ball was Goku the monkey boy going through.
Yeah.
We didn't know he was an alien or anything then. He's just really strong. And it was just nonstop adventures.
Yeah.
That's why it was super fun. And that Journey to the West is kind of what it's based on, just an adventure. And then as the series progressed, it actually morphed into, when it went to Dragon Ball Z, still somewhat adventure, but then it just went hard hero story.
It went more sci-fi and like action and when it went to Z.
Because, the story of Dragon Ball was pretty much...
And by that, too, all the characters were adults.
Yeah.
And things like that, too. So, like, the kind of stories also, kind of changed. And also got godlike abilities, too.
Yeah,
so.
It would get kind of ridiculous, but... Like, just the original Dragon Ball was just kind of a fun adventure story. Just follow this kid and his crazy adventures and stuff.
He's super strong. You don't know why. He just is.
He has heroic moments, but he wasn't necessarily a hero. He's just a kid growing up. And it was just a kind of a fun story that adolescents and young people would like to read about or watch. And, in that case, because it was a manga as well. When you get to the Dragon Ball Z, it switches to Goku as a late teen, and then an adult. And... it's more focused on the hero aspect. Now he's single-handedly saving the world or working with his friends to say a group of heroes. And then it's about sacrifice. You didn't have a lot of sacrifice in the original. If there was, the Dragon Ball series, if there was a sacrifice, it was like a major deal. Yeah. But as the story progressed, it shifted to heroes. And I think as adults, that's kind of how it goes is when you're younger, you want more adventure. And for fun's sake, not necessarily escapism, just like playing video games.
Yeah.
Like you just want to read some fun stuff. Go on an adventure, Alice in Wonderland, go down the Wrecking Rabbit Hole, and just craziness. But then when you get older, I feel like the heroes, the responsibility have. It's like kind of a reflection of your adult life, because when you're an adult, suddenly that freedom to just do whatever you want and dream and, have this crazy imagination kind of goes away and is replaced by responsibility and adult things. And then all of a sudden, Well, now you have to overcome obstacles and kind of be more of a hero. Because how many stories do you read where it has, like, kids being the hero? Like the real hero. I mean, you have some where they work together, the team ups, even like Harry Potter.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of those are more adventure-based, and then they just have, like, the heroic outcome.
Yeah.
See, I can't say because I haven't read the Harry Potter series, but I always feel like there were still other people, like the adults and stuff, involved enough that it wouldn't just be like, oh, you have to take on the world yourself, Harry. Like, there was other aspects to it, but... For people who love Harry Potter, but like, no, that's not at all. Harry Potter represents the hero in all of us, and you're just a selfish transphobia. That's who wrote that. The transphobic asshole. How do you feel now? Not a good writer either, from what I hear. Kind of shitty writer. What's her name? J.K. Fuckface. Not J.K. Simmons, because he's cool.
Yeah, that's a cool guy.
Yeah, change your name. You can't be J.K. anymore, or Miss Rawlings. Sorry, I got off topic. So, what kind of adventure stories do you go for? Because I was trying to bring up kind of like fantasy and stuff, because that's what's popular, but anything could be adventure, sci-fi, even literary fiction can have adventure. You can have
Indiana Jones. That's super adventure-y.
Yeah. I was thinking more like a Grapes of Wrath.
Yeah.
Because very depressing. Wouldn't say that's necessarily an adventure, but then again, would you say a lot of the Greek epics were adventures? You would, but technically they're dramas.
Yeah.
But they fight monsters and stuff. You're not fighting monsters in Grapes of Wrath, but you're still going. Like, if you're crossing the country and you don't have any money, is that much different than like a Huckleberry Finn who fucking doesn't have any money and is going down the river? No. It's just the whimsy is what you're missing.
And like Hercules, he had all those trials he had to do, like
labors.
If that's not that's semi-adventuring, you know.
Adventuring. It's just the The whimsical nature, I feel, makes it from adventure to just, like, drama.
Yeah, well.
Like, you got me this Norse mythology from Neil Gaiman I'm interested in reading. A lot of those stories are kind of funny.
Yeah.
Like, they're ridiculous. And I would say those... Mythology is kind of just adventure-based in general. But you're the comic guy, so modern adventures versus heroes. What themes do you think happens more? Because you can mix them up, and obviously you can combine them as well.
Yeah.
Because, like, the Marvel movies, I mean, most of them are hero stories, but then when you get to, like, Thanos and stuff, it's, got some adventuring because you're fucking going across the galaxy. Like, Guardians of the Galaxy, you're going across the galaxy. Yeah. You're heroes, but you're adventuring. Versus, just Iron Man doing Iron Man shit and fighting fucking...
Fixing his own problems.
Yeah, and fighting, what was his fucking face? Mickey Rourke.
Yeah.
Is that Mickey Rourke with his gross face?
Yeah, that was him.
Yeah, I watched that one, but I don't remember anything about it.
You didn't, Mitch Moss. Like, the best part of Iron Man 2 was Sam Rockwell as Justin Hammer.
Yeah.
That was the hope. They need to bring him back.
They need to put him in a lot of things.
Yeah.
He's great in everything. Like, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I love that movie just because he was in it.
Yeah.
I like Mos Def, too. His Ford Prefect. He was great, too. People didn't like that movie. I don't know why. I thought it was good because I liked the novel. Speaking of an adventure story that's not really an adventure story, Hitchhiker's Guide is just kind of a goofy, fun tale.
But now, did you ever get around to finishing those?
I didn't read the last one or the last two because it got poopy. Just got boring, kind of. I don't know. I'll get to them one day. I got that big collection over there.
What about you or Dune? Is Dune I just assume Dune's kind of adventure just because of the thickness of it,
I feel like Dune is a political thriller.
Okay.
It's like Game of Thrones, I'd imagine, minus the dragons, but with big worms.
Okay.
You have heroes, you have adventures, but mainly you have politics. But in a fun way, I guess. Hard to say how it could be fun, but it actually is. But it does seem like that should be an adventure. That's what I mean, where things are just kind of muddled here is... where does solid adventure take place? Like fantasies or even Lord of the Rings, that's kind of easy to determine. But when you get to like a Dune, I feel like that's more political thriller type of thing. Like fantasy, sci-fi thriller, maybe. I don't know. It's hard to label.
You could throw some of the Star Wars stories in because like that's traveling to different planets, having finding things to take down the Empire.
Well, Star Wars is almost straight fantasy.
Yeah.
It's sci-fi fantasy opera.
Yeah.
It's like a sci-fi opera fantasy. I mean, there's sword fighting in space, but with lasers.
I would say that it's more sci-fi than it is, or more fantasy than it is sci-fi.
I hate Star Wars. I just want to say that. I don't... It has everything I would like, and none of it I like.
Even the original three?
I hated them. They're boring. I rewatched them when The Force Awakens. Was that it?
That one, the newest one?
Well, at the time, the newest one.
Yeah.
I didn't watch the ones after that. I watched the first 3 again, the original trilogy, not the prequels. Fuck those. I watched the original trilogy again because I was like, I watched these when I was like younger, not when I was a kid, but like maybe teens. I just didn't. I watched like maybe when I was young. I don't remember. I didn't remember liking them. I was like, well, I'm older. I'll probably love them now because I love these
things.
All the elements. Yeah. Fucking space sword fights, space, fucking different planets. Adventuring, like the bar scene, because I remember the bar scene very fondly where they, they go in the cantina and like Han Solo shooting, like all that stuff is great. I watched it. I was fucking bored out of my mind. I don't even think I finished the last one. I was like, I don't give a fuck. But I did like Force Awakens, but it was just like it was pretty much a rehash of the original.
Oh, yeah.
It was just like they took the things you liked and just had better graphics.
Well, see, then that's what we always joke about, like, nobody hates a Star Wars movie like a Star Wars fan, because the first one they complained that it was too much like A New Hope. So in the second movie in the new series, they did something completely different, and people were like, "What the fuck is this? This isn't Star Wars.
Garbage, it's trash."
It's like, well, what do you want?
Nothing. You can't make them happy. Well, I heard Rogue One was really good. I didn't see
Rogue One was really good. That's probably like my favorite out of the newest set of movies. I
never understood the solid investment in it. Again, I like all the aspects of it. I just didn't really care. The story just seemed generic to me, like just a kind of a generic fairy tale of saving a princess, but just in space.
Well, I've thought about bringing this up as an idea for an episode of, is Star Wars good or is it just stolen from everything? Because it's stolen, like Star Wars has stolen from
that's why I think it's
everything.
That's why I think it's hilarious that Star Wars ended up as a Disney product. Because Disney always steals all their stories. Like, Aladdin, everything. It's stolen just from, like, Hans Christian Andersen or the, fucking Arabian Nights. Just whatever fairy tales. That's all Disney movies. So it's like Star Wars was ripped off from other, things, and then it just finally ended up at Disney.
Well, you know what they've said about, like, the reason why Disney, like, got, like, Star Wars and Marvel is so that they would have stuff for boys.
Mm-hmm.
Because all the Disney they had all the princess stories and stuff for the girls, but they never really had anything for the little boys. So that's why they got like Marvel and Star Wars.
Yay!
It's to bring in, because they didn't have enough money.
Now when are they gonna have stuff for men, adult men who want to watch hardy, rough, rated R?
Well, they're talking. I've heard stuff that that they're in talks of doing a Deadpool 3. And it's gonna be, it's still gonna be like, R-rated R and stuff like that.
Whatever. Because we're gonna record an episode after this. We should probably end this. So I want to end on the reluctant hero.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Why is it we like the reluctant hero more than the Superman heroes who are just born to be heroes?
Well, because I think what we've talked about before. I think the reluctant hero. I think that's the one that you can really relate to, because that's the most that we're actually like.
Mm-hmm.
We're not, I feel like that's, like I said, that's the one we're mostly like they're like, I don't want to do this. I probably could, but I don't want
to. Yeah. Not always for lazy reasons, but yeah. We even like your Han Solos. It's not because of laziness. He just doesn't want to do it because it's not his motif. He doesn't. He's not a hero.
Is that, or he just, he doesn't want to get involved. He just wants to, do his thing on the side and let.
I always like the crook who turns to being a hero. Sometimes even on accident. Like this, just almost like they don't have a choice in the matter, but they do have a choice. Yeah. They just, for whatever reason, that little thing, like Ant-Man, like Paul Rudd's Ant-Man.
Yeah.
Like that little thing. He doesn't have to be an Ant-Man. He could just, do his time, whatever, not be Ant-Man, but he just, he has one little thing to fight for, which is his daughter, and then that's important enough to him to, become the Ant-Man and actually fight fucking Thanos and shit. So I always thought that was cool. Definitely like the reluctant hero more than just your regular run-of-the-mill Superman hero, because they're boring, because what person is just out there like, yep, I'm a superhero, I'm just gonna go save the day? Like, no, most people aren't doing that. Most people aren't purposeful heroes.
Yeah.
Even if you join things like the military and stuff, you don't actually, if you do, you're probably mentally unstable. You don't actually want combat.
Yeah.
You don't want to get in these tough situations. You're just willing to. That's different. Superman, he could just be like, flying around, and then, I'm sure he doesn't want bad things to happen, but I would imagine he would get extremely bored if nothing ever happened.
Well, The one thing I heard about, I heard a writer talk about Superman one time that I never really thought about, but it's like Superman with like all these terrible things going around the world for the most part, like he knows that these things are happening, but like in an instant of a second, he has to try to decide what's worth, like this boat that's capsizing over in the ocean, or this apartment building that's on fire, or
which
like,
one to do.
and then he has to figure out, and then after making that decision, having to like live with that decision, or like knowing that like whenever he goes to bed at night, that there's gonna be people that die that he could have saved, but knowing that he can't always,
Save everybody.
he can't always be on all the time and stuff like that.
All right, here's where we're in this. What superhero would you be? Me? Easy answer. I'd be Dr. Manhattan.
Dr. Manhattan.
I mean, the powers and everything. Not the like.
You just want to walk out with your dick out and nobody say anything about it.
Yeah, because I could just fucking vaporize them. But just like, I feel like everything would be just so ridiculous, and I would be at the point where I'm like, you know what? Fuck it all.
The real reason is because you want to be like you want to be Dr. Manhattan, and because you want to be able to be like in a gangbang, but it can just be a gangbang of yourselves, so it's not as weird. You know these other strange dudes. It's just multiple you.
My Blue's Clues dick.
Yeah.
What about you?
It'd probably be Spider-Man, just because like that was like my first like big suit like that. Whenever I first got into comics, it was Spider-Man, and like I said, always kind of he's really easy to relate to and stuff like that.
You can't relate to a guy walking around with his dick out?
Well,
that feels like he's smarter than everybody, and he's a pompous dickhead.
That you mention it,
I just want to be indifferent to just be indifferent to the suffering of the world. Just like, yeah, I could save those people, but I'm gonna go to Mars and just fucking terraform it. Not even terraform it, just build a fucking big crystal house like a jerk. I could fucking take things from Earth and actually terraform Mars very quickly, but instead I'm just gonna live on the dry rock. So there you have it, folks. I don't even know what hero would you label that as. That's not the reluctant hero. That's just the guy who gives up. I don't know, because I didn't read anything after Watchmen, but like when they brought him back, but I just assume that he never saves the day.
I'm telling you, whenever you have some free time, you need to watch the HBO Watchmen series that they did.
Yeah, I might do it.
And I think it's only like 8 or 9 episodes, so it's not like it's super long.
No, that's not too bad.
Not like Dr. Manhattan's dick.
I'll put it on my list. If you like this talk, then perhaps you'll like whatever we post on YouTube every once in a while. Check it out at Drunken Pen Writing on the old YouTube when we will do book recommendations and such. Twitter, you can follow us at Drunk Pen Writing. Instagram and Facebook, Drunken Pen Writing. And you can always check out the old website, drunkenpenwriting.com, where we have all our fiction and other things. If you have anything you'd like to add to this discussion, you can find us on one of those things I mentioned and, hit us up. Because I would like to hear what your thoughts are. Your favorite type of heroes, what kind of adventure stories you like, and why you think those things are so important too. Because this is a topic I feel like we can definitely dive into at another point. And I would like to have a guest on, get there, somebody who's vastly different in what they read and stuff. I think would be cool. Maybe somebody's into literary fiction or somebody's into erotic, or like get their opinion on these things, or even more like would be cooler, somebody that doesn't like hero stories, or doesn't like adventure stories at all. Get why they don't like it.
Get their take on it.
Because we both love these things, so obviously we're biased. But anyway, thank you for listening, and Happy New Year.
Yeah. No, Christmas.
Happy Merry Holidays.
Yeah, Happy Holidays.
Can't say Christmas anymore. Why aren't we allowed?
What about if we say, what can we say? Happy Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa.
You're leaving out somebody.
I know.
What about the Buddhists? What do they celebrate? What about the Hindus? Come on. What about the fucking Amish? The Mennonites. What do the Mennonites celebrate? Oh, Lord, we went down the wormhole. What do we do? Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
And a Happy New Year. Actually, our episode will be up for the New Year's, so we'll record that now, but that'll be weeks from now. 1.5 weeks. Something. Goodbye.